Oh my goodness. Where do I begin? Hi everyone. It has been a minute. I am sitting in my bedroom that is currently a disaster, and we are going to clean it up while also checking in about what has been going on. I've been pretty absent from the internet probably a few months now, maybe like since February. I honestly don't even remember what the last video I posted was, and it is currently June 23rd when I am filming this sit down. Let us talk about maybe the elephant in the room. For those of you who are observant, there is a ring on my finger. I am engaged. I got engaged in April on our trip to Italy, and we were planning a wedding, obviously, but for September. So 4 months, we have 80 something days to go until our wedding day. And I plan, and I promise when I say this, I plan to do monthly wedding vlogs, and then also some more sit down to break down everything. So there will kind of be another video talking more about that. So yeah, if I can go back to October 2023, that is when this all kind of started. Starting in October of last year, and basically up until January, between myself and my fiance now, we had family members who had health issues, and it was happening just way more frequently and suddenly. And so that kind of took over our life and our just mindset for a little bit, and the stress of just having a family member in the hospital and recovery and everything like that. During that time, it was kind of leading up to my 30th birthday, and I am typically someone who loves their birthday. It's usually something I vlog for this channel and talk about and all this stuff. And this year I wanted to do nothing. I really felt like I just want to basically crawl into a hole and nobody look at me. That was kind of the first instant where maybe I should have been oh, this feeling's weird and not typical for you. But I was kind of I don't know, I'm 30 now, who cares about birthdays? But it was there were a lot of things that I was just not that interested in doing. And it was kind of I don't want to say a point of contention, but it was something that my mom was kind of bringing up to me. And she was kind of hey, maybe you should go back to therapy because this just doesn't seem like you. And she was right. So I went back, and things have been really great. I found a new therapist, and I really like that therapist. And it's, convenient for me to get to, which is important. Even thinking back to when I started in March to now, I definitely feel different. It's not something that I'm oh, I'm better, so I'm going to stop, because I don't think I'm, better. I don't know when that will happen. There's still definitely things to work on, especially the when stress gets really high, not letting it affect kind of every other thing in my life, which is obviously way easier said than done. And I think is normal for a lot of people when you get super stressed at work or with your personal life or whatever, just other things slide, and that's not always great. So I did have plans to come back way sooner, but then on top of just starting therapy and just finally realizing hey, maybe you're not in the best mental state right now, someone in my department at work left. This was a job that I had previously that I got promoted from, so it was kind of oh, Amelia will take over this other full-time job while still doing her current full-time job. And I was told 4 weeks, towards the beginning of March, and the girl only started 2 weeks ago. And as I said, it's June 23rd. So it was a bit more than 4 weeks. And this full-time job that I took over for is a lot of work. It's a lot of like admin work, so you are working with kind of everybody in the department and also the company, doing many different things. Things are meticulous and tedious, and yeah, it's just a lot of administrative work. And my current position is, sure, there's administrative work that I have to do, but it's creative work. I work in social media, so I get to be creative. And, you know, I went from maybe having 3 meetings a week to now 5 a day. And I know for some people this seems like complaining and like very, nobody wants to work these days. But to go from a creative position where I was kind of my own little island, I didn't have to really answer to anyone, to now answering to everyone in the department, it was a big shift. And unfortunately, not unfortunately, I think if anyone is working 2 40-hour jobs, expecting to get 80 hours work of done in 40 hours, they would go insane. And that is what kind of happened. At the end of every workday, I would be truly exhausted where I wanted to turn my brain off, and it felt like I couldn't even flip the creative switch on because I was so drained. I didn't have that time to myself to seek out creativity like I had kind of built in right at the beginning of this year, and really dove into my creativity, and I was loving it. And then this kind of sucked me right out because I need that like time. I need time to be creative. I'm not someone who's like, do it like this. And so I couldn't get that. I mean, that position took over my life, and, you know, obviously it still kind of is because the girl just started, so I'm still doing it. And so I did not have the creative bandwidth or honestly the time to put in YouTube and other stuff when there was work and house stuff and trying to keep up a personal life. And, you know, then it turned into planning a wedding. So that's kind of what's been going on, and why I have been gone is because it's just been a lot. And I just remembered there was laundry that I meant to also bring up. I don't think there's any other truth besides life is crazy. You know, there's just so many different things and different aspects that make you go, life is pretty wild and very unpredictable. And I think what I said earlier in this video of like, there is so much outside nonsense that you can't control, right? I couldn't control that girl wasn't going to leave this position. I couldn't control how quickly they hired someone. And it's obviously something that I'm working on in therapy because I was definitely a controlling person and wish I could, but you can't. And it's kind of about how internally you take what's happened and process it and deal with it, and, you know, what you do with it. And I think sometimes that sounds like, oh, to just be cold and robotic, and that's not the case at all. You are more than allowed to feel your feelings and be upset and be stressed and angry and mad and disappointed and all of those emotions. But as my therapist keeps, they're just emotions, and kind of then where you go from there is what matters. So, I mean, I've been stressed. My anxiety has gotten the better of me a few times these past few months. I was recently sick for a few weeks, plus it was right in tandem with the allergy bloom. So I also had allergies on top of being sick. I had like 100-degree fever for 5 days, which is not good, but you're like, oh, by tomorrow it'll be better, by tomorrow it'll be better, because I was so focused on like, I gotta get this work done, I gotta do this, that I started having health anxiety, and that's never happened to me before. So that was weird, but I had, you know, to kind of sit with myself and say, this anxiety is, you know, probably coming from these other places of things that just happened, so that's normal and usual, but you are not going to get better. It is not going to get better unless you kind of face that fear and go to the doctor. And I did, and everything was fine. I just had to rest. I just had to rest some more and take some allergy medicine. Who would have thought taking allergy medicine for your allergies? There you go. Kind of all of that to say, I think a lot of us seek balance, and I think that's great, and that we should, but a lot of time your life will be out of balance. Things can be lopsided. You might be more focused on friends in one part or work in another part or whatever. And so this kind of last few months, it's been very work heavy, and I've just been kind of like, put your head down and do the work, and you know it's gonna suck, but hopefully it'll end soon. And, you know, then you can kind of like, okay, that can then kind of be put away, and then you can focus on like another part, and that might be out of balance, and just kind of like rotating through all these things and not letting one thing get too far out of balance while neglecting everything else, even though just at certain points in your life, other things may take priority. Yeah, that has been my life update. My room definitely looks a little better. We are going to ignore the part that is my fiance's, because he will clean up after himself. You know, like I can see the floor, the bed is made, there's not 1,000 things on the bed. Thank you so much for sticking with me through what I feel like is kind of a chaotic cleaning, where have I been, what's going on video. I am so hoping to get this up in like 2 weeks. I really want a week, but I will say 2 weeks, giving myself that grace. And then hopefully, I can get the other videos that have kind of been like, I've been saving, aka been doing jack shit with them, and put them on, and then we can kind of get into like current times. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining me, and subscribe for life content, not like subscribe for your whole life, for just life content.